Welcome, everybody. My phone just signaled me that little chime that says the I&E Network's broadcast is officially started. Welcome to you wherever you are across this great big wide world. We've got people from one end of the country to the other on tonight, and this is the most fun I get to have every week. I look forward to this immensely. We've been doing our shows for the last 7 years. My name's Dr. Lou Jensen, in case there's somebody out there that hasn't been sitting in with us at all before. Our film strip is full of our members, and all of you guys that are in the show with me tonight participating directly in the Hangout are longtime friends and familiar faces, familiar voices. And to each of you, I'd like you to think back through when we got in the green room today and I first sent out the invitation and it fills up. I have 70 in the invitation now who could come and kind of jump into the meetings with us. And if you think how different it is now than it was a year ago and how comfortable we are with each other in this mixture and this mix now, the time comes when we'll have even more that can participate, even more that will be a part of this technology. And then we're going to be able to have live shows together with, I think, any number of people, which to me is just really, really an amazing thing for technology to come so far so quickly. So welcome, and sit back. I've got a fun show prepared tonight. I've had this one ready for a little while, and I want to bring it up so that you guys can kind of be with me. I guess it would help to do my screen share first, wouldn't it? There we go. Full screen. Let's go get that, and then we'll start this here. So you should see the big decision. Let me get things just a tiny bit rearranged here. Got her live. Thanks, Mel. I had one of the most interesting days in my life yesterday. It was just phenomenal. We had a really difficult funeral for a friend of my children, a young man that's been a part of our family for years, passed away last Thursday, and so it's been a rather hectic weekend, and particularly my son Chris and Tamika involved in trying to help the family and manage. And gosh, it was a tough funeral yesterday. He left 2 little boys and his wife, and we've known him for so many years, and it just is so challenging for me and our family when someone leaves an early goodbye. It's just not something I enjoy to deal with at all. And I was watching them drive off to go to the cemetery yesterday and thinking they're 8 years from now still going to be suffering, still going to hurt from the loss of a loved one. And I never knew that until I lost 3 people in a row, just like they say in the folklore that that comes in threes, and you just sit back and hold your breath, because that's exactly how it went for me as well. And until you bump into that kind of a thing, until you've lost a loved one, someone close to you, you don't really measure your own time and your own existence as much, I don't think. I never realized how quick and how fast we can be gone and all done and over with. And his sister read a quote yesterday about the dash. It's called the dash, the line between when you were born and the number between you were born, and then the dash in between, and then the number of when you passed away. The dash is what you accomplish. The dash is what you get done. The dash is what you are actually involved with. Then I went to Salt Lake and started filming Jack's collection. My oldest friend has a very, very extraordinary collection of handmade things, stuff that he's bought over his 40, nearly 50 years of collecting. And we started filming yesterday and spent all afternoon and early evening, and then went to dinner and visited about it quite a while afterward. And then I came home last night and went back through all the footage to make sure that the audio was there and the video was okay. And our first adventure into that is really going to be just fine. It was just wonderful. What an amazing experience. I've waited for 30 years for him to let me get at that collection so I could share it with other people. And so when the time comes and I get it all prepared, you guys will be the first to see what I think is one of the really great hand-gathered artwork collections ever. And I'm going to put it right in the middle of the Handmade Crusade. And all of the things that I videotaped yesterday are things that no one knows who made those things. In most cases, they're just exotic hand-done things. He's got a set of china that were painted with all the royalty in King Louis the 15th or 16th, whichever was the one that when France, the revolution in France happened, and these plates were hand-painted and hand-fired. And if you look carefully at the gold work on them, you just can't believe that somebody has that much ability. They're the most magnificent things I've ever seen. And extremely rare. Has some of the oldest porcelain, Meissen porcelain in the world in his life. And so it's just something I've waited for, had to be patient. It's he didn't want to show it off for the longest time. He's still concerned about the risk involved, and so I have to kind of just do it whatever way he wants to do it, because it's not my collection, it's his stuff. And his willingness to share it with me and to begin to put it into a position where it really might influence other people has been a fulfillment of a piece of the fabric of what I'm really after in the long run. I've been fascinated with this quote by Steve Jobs because I've never seen it before. It was all over Google Plus the last couple of weeks, but to realize that your heart and your intuition is what you really should be playing with anyway. And if you're using your imagination to go out into the universe and find out what you're good at, and then ask questions and then listen to your answers with your intuitive side and nature, you start to see things in a way and in a light that perhaps you never have before. I had a long visit with my brother this morning, and Doug's just got his studio set up, and he's just playing more and more with everything we're doing here. He's starting to just gently post on Google Plus and play with it and figure out how should he do his avatar. All the stuff we've been working on for a whole year are things he's just now taking on. But I mentioned about the intuitive side and the imaginative creative side as tools that help you to begin to discover more about yourself, who you are, and what it is that you actually have to share. Because ultimately, if each of you could pull into your life something like I have with my Doc's Hatchery, it's been playing with me now for 30 years. And that's a really, really fun thing to have in your life, something that was yours, something you put together, and then you incubate it and take care of it, and grow it in value for a good long time. Is what's just amazing to me. I started the AVA a long time ago, and the idea is to try and help people with the business side of the hobby. I don't have to ask people twice to come and play with the equipment. If you like hand-produced things, and you can enjoy your participation with that side of your life and get your own discovery studio started, and then develop your degree of mastery with something you can end up in the same place that my really good friend Keith Holm has ended up. He had a chance to develop and grow and master his own talent, and then turn around and share it with the world. For a long time, we've traveled and played all over the country and written everything off because it's our profitable hobby. Part of what I wanted to share tonight, because we're talking about a big decision, are the concepts and the ideas about yourself that will help you grow and help you flourish. And we talk often about the negativity that just destroys creativity. It's so easy for someone else to tell you you can't do something or imply that you're not capable of doing whatever you're trying to do. And it's really hard to deal with people that belittle your own ambitions. And I think the trick is to stay very close to the people that help you believe in your own individual greatness. Okay? I just posted this last week before I wasn't able to get my show fired up on Wednesday. And out of all my years in the innovative, creative, hobbypreneur career, I've learned so many things that I now value greatly, but none has surprised me more than how, on occasion, with an occasional defeat, has all but crushed my future. One day I'm going to have a show of all the bad things that happened, and especially in the beginning stages of this. I had every reason to quit and just go back and drill teeth. The beginnings were really rough and really bumpy. But as I've kept going and got my wind back, those same disasters have actually ended up being a major blessing to me later on. All it took was my courage to step up to the plate and keep swinging. Persistence is still the greatest lesson in life and living. And all of this stuff, when I found the passionate prescription piece and I pulled that into my life, and then I found Gary's logo that's now become the center of our I&E network and the name of I&E network, all of this stuff took quite a bit of time to sort it out and figure out what it is I was trying to do, the direction I really wanted to go. But the really big secret of everything we're playing with is our relationship with each other. There's some people in your life who are very supportive of your climbing, and you're going kind of against the grain. You're going uphill. Mel's getting ready to do his show this weekend, and I don't know, Mel, how many shows of events have you done?
I don't know.
She's supposed to say bunches.
How many starlings are in a flock?
And as you've done them now, your anxiousness and concern when you first started doing these shows and events compared to what's going to happen tomorrow, quite a bit difference in your head now than then, huh?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just worried if I have enough inventory.
Well, we wish you a lot of luck in the show this weekend, and we'll talk about it next week. The idea that Mel and I have been talking to each other and mixing with each other for a long time is still the thing that helps me keep going. And I suspect it's the same thing for each of you. In Utah Valley, this is our greatest mountain. This is the 11,000-foot climb up over Timpanogos. Indian legend has it that there's a native Indian girl laying up here on the top of the mountain, and her ornery old chieftain dad wouldn't let her marry who she wanted to marry, and so she went up on top of the mountain and laid down and died in rebellion. But it's such a beautiful mountain, and this valley is just such a great, great place. But climbing mountains and playing in our mountains in this part of Utah is what we really prize and enjoy the most. And boy, if there's ever a time you don't want to go into the mountains And climb, it's having someone to climb with who doesn't want to be there or doesn't know how to be there or has no actual skill whatsoever. That's a scary time because it's not easy to go uphill with people who are got a bad attitude. We've played with the I&E network for a long time now with the idea that they're going to make this stuff and then learn how to market it as well. So if we put a coin right here in the middle, how to make it, how to market it is what we're after. It's what we try to accomplish. I'm going to use Marie's. I'm going to make this famous in spite of the fact that we lost Marie Gibbons this year, who's the person in the circle who designed Tomorrow Today. She coined that phrase. And I just can't think of anything you can do better in your life than to be right where Mel is tonight, of having something that you love doing, something you're quite competent at doing, and then going out knocking on the doors of the marketplace once again with that degree of capability. It then makes the job really fun. I have done 1,000 shows in my lifetime. And every time I've done some kind of a marketing event, which is out in front of the public, trying to sell who I am and what it is I have done and what I do, I got better and better and better at it because of the experience. And so the miracle that I found is the same miracle we all find when we begin to discover, hey, this is something I can do. And the miracle is actually in the doing. It's the veteran, not the preacher, who has given us freedom of religion. It's the veteran, not the reporter, who has given us freedom of the press. It's the veteran, not the poet, who has given us freedom of speech. It's the veteran, not the campus organizer, who has given us freedom to assemble. It's the veteran, not the lawyer, who has given us the right to a fair trial. It's the veteran, not the politician, who has given us the right to vote. Is that the last slide? I thought there was one more slide to it. Maybe I'm mistaken. I found this series a while back, and I've used it a couple of times in my shows. And I really try and pay attention when these individual signals come along and say, Lewis, this is something important. This is something now that you should be working on. This is the next thing that fits in the puzzle of what I'm trying to do with the finishing half of my life. And there's so much going on right now in my world, in and around veterans, and all the struggles that you guys who are veterans in this show. So the contribution that you've made into the freedoms, as this verse and these pictures describe, is horrendous. And yet often you're not recognized nearly enough for that sacrifice and for that contribution. And I'm kind of thinking that this is going to end up being something pretty important to each and all of us as we find more and more ways to share what we have with those veterans who are interested and like to learn to do the kinds of things that we're doing. And when I see these ideas and I start pulling them into my life, they work just exactly like this one did. When I did this carving, the first time I found the graphic artwork, Kevin Wins, an artist here in Utah, had drawn this line drawing of this trout. And I carved this for my brother, the Green River Fishing Club, the old timer, and Doug Gaddis, and still in this studio. But what a great exchange between brothers. And when I can sense that someone likes and would enjoy this kind of graphic, that as a gift or a thank you that I can give to them, This is such a relatively simple thing to do with the power pen. If you're going to draw this or carve this or put this into wood in any other way, you'd be in for a world of hurt, a difficult time. Short of having a $100,000 laser to burn it in, you wouldn't have the same result even then. And when I discovered I had something like that and I could move that in my own direction, then I started playing with all these niches that I already like. This preference of the things that I enjoy is what I pulled into my life consistently. I played with scouting for 50 years. I've done nothing but scouting as my other life. And when I found these 5 drawings, they were in another book published by Scouting. These drawings were done by Baden Powell, the founder of Scouting. There's not a long-term scouter that doesn't know this graphic artwork. These are just line drawings with the $6.99. I can sketch that in this. I can do this whole plate in an hour. And this is the last paragraph of the last letter he ever sent to Scouting. And so when I give it to Helen Clegg as a training chairman, my 5-year period of being council president, I gave away a ton of these things because it was my thank you. It was my way of giving people appreciation for their participation. But it has followed me down the road ever since. And from Eagle Scout Awards and Eagle Scout thank yous to training programs and thank yous, and my participation with anybody that's contributed a great deal to the cause of scouting, I can do this so quickly and so easily, and I love it. It's just a joy to do. To also finish it quickly and get it done in an hour and yet have it something be pretty nice and pretty quality. Thank you to people is a great playground. But so's golf. This is Gary Patterson's cartoon. And I don't ever sell this because it's Gary's artwork, but I do give it away on occasion. And it's been so much fun. I'm having a little trouble. The woods just, what it says, I'm hitting the woods just great, but I'm having trouble getting out of them. There's not a golfer out there that doesn't get really cranked and really excited about having this hanging on his wall, especially if you name it after them. The country club after them. And Alec Ashita and his family own the entire dental bearing manufacturing world. And I've been playing with Gashitas now for a good 35 years, and so it's really interesting to have these kinds of special thank yous that you can plug into the occasion that other people would have a hard time doing. Most of you that have been into my shows in the last 7 years have seen this plate before. This is one that Tammy did for the Olympics for the city, state of Salt Lake City, state of Utah, to go after the Olympics, and we actually did get them. This was a $10,000 order for these hand-carved plates that Tammy and Lisa and did the carving and did the artwork and got them delivered. Really amazing to watch. And Tammy basically pulled this in the door over the weekend. She found out on Friday, and by Monday the product had to be there in order to compete with all the other major companies that were after the Olympics business. And what they wanted was something handmade from the state of Utah. That's what won. I've done the highly personalized thank yous for scouting. I've talked about this one often. I do an Eagle Scout Award that comes into my life quite often. And all I did was start with graphics and images. When I bump into something like this, I go, oh my gosh, that would look good and great. And my curiosity leans me in the direction of saying, well, I can't do it right now, but I'm going to learn to carve that. Jay sent me a piece that he's got to do, an engraving that he's got to do this next little while, and we talked about the difference in the contrast between what would show up and look good here as opposed to how you could do it down in these darker portions and then have everything layered exactly like it's drawn in the image and have it come out right. And if you've never done it before, then there's going to be a little bit of a challenge to begin to learn what can I carve and what should I leave and what should I take out. And yet, once you've done it a little, you'll start to get a really strong sense of how this can work for you. And then when you spot the possibility of it moving in a direction that gets you a lot of publicity, all I did was engrave this logo for the editor of the magazine, and it ended up getting me an entire page in that magazine for free. So any graphic artwork, any image that you can come up with are things that you can engrave and put on a surface that then become an extremely unique thank you. And there's not a graphic image in here that you can't put in. There's not a quote and a verse that you can't hand letter in. And all of it done by photocopying the image onto a stencil and giving it a try. I think most of you know to do the patterns and test them out on a piece of scrap that you can throw in the fireplace if it doesn't work out so good. So don't just jump on one of these wooden blanks and screw it up. What you want to do is kind of practice each image and begin to decide if that's something you can actually do. Now, as you move further into doing your own career, the possibilities and the opportunities kind of multiply. My really wealthy friend who started the phone directories company, I've talked about Mark several times, talked with him just a couple of days ago, and Mark's going to try and get the governor and come with the president of Utah State University to see Jack's collection. And where we're trying to put his collection in perpetuity, and what we're trying to accomplish here now is starting to involve a circle of people that I've been playing with for a long time in my life already. And that, to me, is what relationship marketing is all about. You have to cultivate and try your best to maintain relationships in order to have other opportunities show up. I just found the videos that I shot when I carved a plate for this university, asked me to do it for the Bingham. Mark Bingham gave them $25 million, and they built a building, an energy research center and entrepreneur school. And they asked me to do the carving of that logo for the founders room. And every now and again I get the chance to do a large scale carving that just is a joy. Something that kind of presses your skill and presses your ability. But as you get a little bit further into it, these kind of projects are just gold. They're so much fun to do. These are 2-inch thick blanks turned on a large scale lathe, and I love alder to carve with. It's just about the best Northwest wood on the planet. It's just a really tight grain, very smooth, really, really wonderful to carve with. This is the picture Tammy gave me. I've got this print called The College of Magical Knowledge by James Christensen, and I wanted to carve it on the wooden plate, so I just kind of modified things and put it in this wooden plate for my own use. I've not finished it, and it's sitting right here with me in my studio, and every now and again I'll lean over and do some more with it, but it's going to be my last supper. It's going to be the one thing that I might not ever get done, but it shows me, helps me understand where this all started, what it was like when I was down in the valley. And then as you learn to carve and do different ways of doing things and different ways of finishing and painting things, it can just become the absolute joy of your life. Now, part of the big decision that I want you to try and make tonight involves other talent. One of the things that inspires me the most is the people and their careers that I follow. I watch what they do and what they produce and how they've taken their own life up the mountain of success. And I try and figure out how they've done what they've done. I've told the story of James Christensen often, where the moment in his life that led him to everything. He's one of the world's leading fantasy artists. He paints these really unusual graphics. But he says the moment that really turned him on was when someone gave him $500 and said, I want you to paint us something before you get too famous. And he says, well, what do you want me to paint? And he says, we don't care. Paint whatever you want. And that led him to this fantasy direction of listening to his heart like Steve Jobs. Let your intuition guide you more. If you're looking at what you're doing because somebody else is making a ton of money doing it, please don't do it that way. Don't let that be the secondary motivation. Make the motivation really come from somewhere deep inside of you. When James does the kind of graphics and the kind of artwork that he does, you can tell it a mile away because it's his style. It's his way of expressing things. And now he's moved into this slightly different version of his graphics, still uniquely portrayed, incredibly well done, but oh, does he have a following. He has a following of people worldwide that just can't wait for the next James Christensen piece to show up. Has a beautiful cabin up in Sundance here in Utah, and does his production in his graphics up there. And there's a whole world that love the mysticism of what's he saying right here? Why did he put that little fish following along right there? And why is this done here? And he says everybody finds more in his pictures than what he actually put in. But it sure is intriguing to see why is this here and why is this done the way it's done. And then as you see his mixture with his own life overshadowed by a lot of the old masters type painting and type production, you start seeing a trend of graphics that is just so much fun. This has been really popular for him. He sold an awful lot. This is the Busy Mom. The Busy Mom. This is for the Timpanogos Storytelling Festival. They have a really big storytelling festival coming up next month, and he did the poster and the print for that festival. So when this new opportunity came along, and I can't tell you why I didn't finish putting the video together, because I don't know. I shot the video as I was doing the project, because I really like multiplying my effort if I can, and then somehow it's just gotten in the move or the building of Soulworthy. I don't know what in the world happened. But I'm going to come back and put that together now to show you how to move into a larger scale kind of project. And as you begin to see each move and each step that I've taken to be able to render it in a larger scale, from the tiny little things I did for the sandblasting I did for the university, I went down and had the graphic artwork blown up on a Staples. They've got a printer, copier machine on Staples that can take it up to drafting size prints. And they could put it on one whole sheet for me like that. I think it was only like $5 to do all that rendering. In the old days when we had to do this all by hand, folks, this was really an involved thing. Now it's just absolutely nothing to get it rendered in any size you want. Then you take it, cut it into 8.5 by 11 pieces, and then photocopy it in pieces, 8.5 by 11 sheets, and then start matching the patterns and laying the stencil out on the surface to where you've got it laid out exactly the size that you want. And I love the fact that the bead was on there, because the bead was on the plate that on the logo that they gave me. It was really easy to match to the wood. And once I got all that done, then I went back in, started paying attention to the individual elements, trying to figure out how I was going to carve them, how I was going to shape them. I had to figure out what had to be cut down in and what would be left high and how I was going to render all the lettering. There was an awful lot of decision making from the point of beginning to put the stencil in place and then begin to actually do the carving. This is the sandblasted image on the crystal. And so I tried to render it in a way that it would begin to look more like what it ends up when it's blasted. And this is the crystal book that I do for the president of the university. So with a degree of paying attention to each of those details, and then you start trying to do the rendering with your drill, I got different perspectives of that tower to try and see how it was actually formed and what it really was like, because this is a clock tower on their main central campus building. This is how they render it in their graphic department and their logos, and I gathered all this stuff, and I've kept it over the years because then you never know what next you're going to be asked to do. And each of these renderings begin to make it easier and easier and easier to figure out, well, if this is here and I'm going to relief carve the background and then leave the lettering high, then what do I do to carve and how am I going to render the grain? Did all of the lines, complete rendering of the lines with the 699. Go in and trace the patterns, mark it into the surface, get it all on there, and I'm pretty sure I did every inch of this just by hand, just tracing it. Sometimes on these outside edges you can use a straight edge to help mark them really, really sharp, but then so does everything else have to be. And I've learned to just kind of stay with it. And I sketched on the stencil some of this relief stepping that I was going to do with each of these individual areas from the center of the pattern outward. Started to do the relief carving, drop relief carving. In the large scale areas, it really helps to have larger sets of tools. Jose, you still in with the image? Can you come on with your microphone and talk about what you've learned doing your large scale carving that you just finished?
Hi. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, we enjoyed your post of your finished carving. That's just a magnificent thing. Did you learn a little bit since January?
Oh my God. Well, first of all, you know, for the past 10 years, I've been carving using the 1/16 shaft, you know, using the power pen or the high-speed drill. And then I went into buying new equipment. Big difference. And then I've used like the one that you have displayed right now, which is maybe like a 1/8 inch, and I went up even to a 1/4 of an inch shank for some of my tools. But one of the things that I found out is with the bigger shanks, bigger burrs, man, you can really go to town taking that wood out. It's a lot of fun.
A lot of fun.
Yeah.
And you have to kind of, it's a process of learning almost with every project. I've listened to Craig describe this for years, is that even as much experience as he has, as much as you've accomplished now, this next project where you go and carve in this man's home will be a whole new learning curve again. Fortunately, you get to take all this skill with you to Texas, and it should really help you in the process. But, oh, it's just such a never-ending learning curve, isn't it?
Yes, and this is going to be a little bit different because the carving that I did prior to this was, you know, I laid it on a couple of 6-foot tables, and I was able to bend down and, you know, do the carving. This one's going to be a little bit different for the fact that um, the tree is standing up. So I'm gonna have to be kind of sitting down and you know maybe
Yeah,
for the first half, and then the other one below the halfway point. I don't even know how I'm gonna be doing. So it's gonna be pretty bad on my back, I bet.
you're gonna put up some scaffolding is probably how you're gonna get up there.
No, no, no. It's they got a floor that
Floor
uh,
right to it. Oh, that's right. You told me.
yeah, it sticks out like 6 foot from the third floor. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna leave like the last foot without carving. So I'm just gonna carve the last 5 feet of that.
But it will be upright on that surface. Yeah, you're gonna have a tough time with your back. You're gonna have to be really careful,
Yeah, yeah,
not overdo it, not strain yourself too much. But what a great thing to do the piece laying down flat like you've done to learn and get going with this bigger equipment, and then now to move in the upright. You did it exactly the right sequence. I'm proud of you.
yeah, yeah. And this
Fortunately,
thing
everything
hopefully
worked
is
right out.
yeah, hopefully it's not gonna be taking that long to do.
Yeah,
Because I already have the experience doing the animals. The only different thing that might be is doing the tusks for the elephant. I might just do that out of wood on that because it will be really hard to pour the tusks on
yeah,
that.
yeah, it would.
So
Well, you
yeah,
can do it with a really lighter wood or bleach it even and make it look good. I think it might work either way.
yeah, yeah. I think that will work.
There's a
So
million different kind of cutting heads, and one of the challenges is to know which cutting head should I go after. And we try and help you with that as much as we possibly can, but it depends on the tool, the quality of the tool, as well as the speeds that you're using, and then the kind of material that you're actually cutting. I tested this, I carved this about a dozen different ways till I finally ended up with doing it in the rendition that I said, yeah, I think if I smooth that on out, that's probably going to be closer to what I'm trying to get at. This is spalted maple, and when you have a difference between a wood like this and a wood like this, and a huge difference in the grain, then all of a sudden you face a whole new learning curve on each individual surface that you get onto. Because carving in through something like this is going to be a small nightmare. You get further out into it, every wood seems to be just a little bit different. And what you'll have is as you start learning and do more of it, you'll begin to get the courage of saying, yeah, I'm comfortable with what I'm doing and the direction I'm going with things. I like to carve from the center of my project out. I start in the middle and I try and determine the deepest portion of the carving to begin with. Then as I started to finish it up, you can see how different the grain was. The different layers of the wood that went in to make up. There was a piece here, a piece here, piece here, piece here, piece here, and then that was then laid. Now, one of the things you want to be really careful with is watching the verticalness of the grain of the woods that you're putting in. If you'd done the mistake of cutting this on an angle and those boards had been laminated in this direction and your pattern was cross grain or even anti-godlin somehow, boy, you would end up with a lousy looking piece. You have to really be careful when it's laminated and layered wood to get these. I think these were 34, 36 inches. They were really large scale turned pieces, and I had to really be careful with them. But as I started coming in and playing with it, I had all kinds of grief with keeping this lettering on the lighter side and making sure that I wanted a horrendous amount of contrast. This is going in a really large room, large scale room at the university, the founder's room. And I wanted everything to really stand out and really show up. And I actually went back in and bleached these 3 letter sets out even a little bit more. But boy, did I have fun putting this whole thing together. And if you can sense at all where I went with the pricing and what I ended up doing with the carving and how much fun I had producing this piece and getting it out into the marketplace, then all it does is multiply your name and reputation. It hangs there from now on. That piece is going to be up there in front of all the great patrons at the university. It took me quite a while to bump into having a good time as my job. I know you all know that story. But when that came along in my life, I was right in the middle of, should I quit dentistry and go chase this dream, or should I back off and not? And boys and girls, all I think of several times every day is, what if I hadn't gone in this direction? What if I just stayed in dentistry as opposed to coming and playing with all of you? And your life and your circumstances identical to this. When Craig started seeing what was going on, his dad was becoming a really, really good wood carver. He is largely responsible for the one who pulled all of us in the direction of doing a better job with high-speed power carving. And then Craig started pioneering, both him and his cousin Al started pioneering a lot more of what we were doing in larger scale woodworking pieces, particularly furniture and accessories like this fireplace that he's doing here. And I've got quite a bit of footage also that I've not ever put together and put out of Craig. We'd stop and visit with him every now and again in these little sections and have him visit about what his experience was like and how it was going for him right now. And as he developed this piece and went from a claymation product to the finishing of this walnut piece for $70,000, and he got a $2,500 tip for doing the carving. And when you cross paths with the marketplace and you can start producing in this artistic range the kind of stuff that we do from even a tiny smaller range, this larger scale is pretty demanding, but oh, is it a lot of fun. And as you begin to understand how that affects Craig life, and then you get to know these individual people who are trying to do the same thing that you're trying to do, the really important decision is to hook up with these people and make friends with them, and then try and climb that same mountain as well. If I hadn't had Jack and Woody as my mentors, if I wouldn't have had my relationships with those of you that have helped me stay in the saddle all these years, I don't think that I would have been able to succeed on my own. And when we can see that that's the kind of thing we're actually doing and we're trying to accomplish together, these chances and these moments to individually express what you're doing and how you're doing it, and give you the same kind of opportunity to chance to unfold all of your individual potential, you'll start realizing how absolute exciting it is to get to a point where you're producing the work that's in your life that you want to define your individual life. I told my brother on the phone this morning that one of the really great tactics of figuring out the other end of your life and dreaming that up then becomes more of a reason for you to do whatever it is that you enjoy doing the most. Because I think anybody can literally learn how to carve things. I think you can learn how to do stuff. I'll move this and see if my focus of my camera changes. I think it's an automatic focus thing. Let's see if that changes it a little. I'm not sure. I think that's about where it ought to be. Everybody in this film strip tonight has something that they're playing with, that they're kind of specializing with, this individual focus of your life. And without exception, I think if you go looking for a person who's kind of doing what you're trying to do, you'll begin to find either someone in the past who's done some magnificent things, and you can kind of somewhat follow that kind of a decision to say, yeah, this is what I'm going to do. I've got only so much time left in my life. That is where focus really comes from. If there's any one theme that I've pushed buttons on and tried to encourage and nudge each of you from here forward, is whatever you start into this thread of interest, this passion I've had for carving eggshells, has led me now for just about 38 years. And if there's any one thing I'm proud of, any one thing that I enjoy so much, is the fact that I have managed to stay with that. But so has Jose, and so has Mel, and so has Nick, so has Ron. You guys get into something you really do like doing, then what you try and do is stay with that and continue to enhance that. I think that's where the big bargain comes from in the long run. There's almost nothing can match it. There's nothing that I found more satisfying in your life to know that you stayed on task for quite a long time to develop your individual careers. All right, I want to visit now for a minute with everybody and have your, if there's any one area of what we've talked about tonight that you want to throw into this mix. Usually what's happened since last week are the things that are really dominating our thinking process as we prepare for now what next am I going to do. Anybody got something that's been fun that's happened this week for them?
Yeah, I do.
Mel, go.
We were out at the Expo Center tonight setting up, and we were talking to the couple of guys that running that moonshine company, and we showed them the a sample of my work on a beer mug, and he looked at it and he was, "Did you do this with a laser?" I said, "Nope." My darling wife says, "He did that by hand."
Yeah.
Yeah. Then he got to looking at it in the light. He said, "Oh, you're tattooing the glass." I said,
Bingo.
"Yep."
Oh, bingo.
It's exactly what
Oh,
I'm doing.
bingo. Oh, yeah. What an angle that can become. It's exactly what you're doing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Huh.
That's exactly what we've been doing.
Been doing. That's
Just
when
a
we
different
take
name
a,
on
take a tattoo off their arm and put it on the side window of their truck, or we put it down on the derby cover of their bike. Yeah, that's
Sure.
exactly what we're doing.
I'm going to have my copy enlarger reducing printer with me, along with
Yeah.
my trusty laptop. That if he needs I can stick his arm on there and cover it and run a scan on it
Pull it
or
off
print
and
it or
scan it.
whatever. Sure.
Well, if you had a good phone, you could just shoot it with your phone and shoot it right to your.
No, I can do that with my iPhone. But, I'll have the computer and everything already set up.
My kids are just giving me fits because Dad's photographing everything that moves anymore, and I'm putting it, do like everybody does with getting stuff and putting it up over onto the web. And I'm going, well, I'm still trying to be really careful with what I'm printing. The words that Google picks up that say who you are is pretty important. But kids are thinking their dad slipped into his another childhood playing with
Well,
this stuff.
you have. But now you've got the cash to do it right.
It's a little easier nowadays, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's
just
a little bit easier when you get a little further along. So how are you coming along, Joni? What's happening in your world, lady? Get your microphone turned on, Joni. Reach up to the top and turn the mic on.
Okay, I'm sorry.
There you go.
With me, for the past 2 weeks, it has been just something terrible around here. One thing after another, either a doctor, either a surgery, one thing after another. But I am still hanging in there. I'm going, by this week, maybe I can get some more time to get done. But something I wanted to show you. Last week you mentioned about getting Norman Vincent Peale book,
Yeah.
And I happened to look at my husband's books that he has, and here is one of the older ones that he had. I don't know if you could see it.
Hold it a little higher. There we are, right there.
And it says, "You can if I can't see it. Read it upside down."
You can if you think you can.
Yeah. And there's so many things in this book that has really helped me hang in there, because sometimes you get so discouraged, you don't think anything is going to come out of it. But anyway, I'll tell you this, that I am continuing on, and I'm gonna beat it. I'm gonna beat all this nonsense that's going on in my life right now.
Well, our prayers and thoughts are with you, Joni, and you fit in our circle so well, and we all love you and appreciate you and look at you in the side of persisting with what you've done, because that's the definition of who you are, lady.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate you saying that.
You've accomplished a lot, and what you do now is say, okay, now what do I do? What's going to happen from this point forward?
Yeah.
Good to have you.
I am.
All right. Debbie, how's your world? This is our resident editor. Debbie is the editor of a magazine. Has way too much to do in her life, but she's opened some interesting doors lately. Did your auction finish?
Yes, the auction finished, and the milk can went for $720.
Ooh, bingo.
And the whole Helping Hands things for the burn victims was $24,700.
Oh, wow.
That they were able to make. So I'm very happy that I can do this. In fact, the lady that won the can I actually know, so I'm sure it'll be a fun can to paint for her. So helping two people with one thing. So.
Good. And the other order came in. The guy's still going
Yeah,
on.
the gentleman from St. Louis. I'm not doing the Statue of Liberty, so I am going to do a milk can for him. I showed him some pictures, and he decided on the color. He liked my metallic gold and the comma strokes that I do. Apparently, he's a stroke victim, and he's redoing his house, and so that's why he wanted this milk can. So I'll be doing that and figuring out how to get it from Pennsylvania to St. Louis. Probably on a cattle truck.
Absolutely. That might be just exactly what you'll end up with. The most amazing thing is when you're playing with your clients and playing with your patrons, that stirs up opportunity. And it's interesting when you're looking for opportunity and you're paying attention to the potential that's around you in these kind of creative efforts, then more potential shows up. So Jack and I are doing things yesterday, and even when I was with him all afternoon and doing all the video production, he's never actually done that. He's no idea what was involved, and it's quite a process. It takes a lot to get a shot lined up and then to actually pull it off and have the perspective you like. I've learned to shoot from a distance and use telephoto more often. If you've got these little cameras, the cheaper cameras, you've only got a certain length that you can do. And so the closer you are to your subject, usually the more troublesome it is to actually get it the way you want it. And so I've done quite a bit. And he said yesterday as we were going out to dinner, he says, Lou, for heaven's sakes, he says, it's a lot more involved. He says, it's really going to take us some serious time to get this all captured, isn't it? And I said, yes, it is. Absolutely. But what a joy. So then I come home and I sat down last night. I was tired as hell, and I just sat down and thought, I got to get back through all this footage and at least double check everything, make sure I got what I thought I got, because every now and again you didn't have a wire connected or you forgot to throw the audio switch or whatever. But all the video footage was intact and all the audio was just great. But going through it, I saw things from the video that are some things I can suggest to him of some other projects now that we can actually do. And I've done so much work for him over the years. It's kind of what's beginning to emerge now in your life, Jose, with your new friend and your new client, patron, and his circle around him. This is the thing that is so challenging to find and pull into your life. But, oh, boys and girls, when you do, everything improves. You can see that coming, can't you, Jose?
Yes, I do. Yeah, that's one of the things that that I'm looking forward to. He's going to be coming back from African Safari next Monday, so I'll get a chance to talk to him again.
He'll have a whole new batch of things to do, won't he?
Yeah, that would be awesome. And apparently the whole project, it looks pretty good so far, and the general foreman or the general contractor is looking forward to coming over and picking it up, and then have it ready for him for when he comes back. But apparently that's going to be pretty darn close, so he might be back, and then before we had the carving over there so that he could see it. So we'll see how that works. But we're very excited about it.
Yeah, you should be. It's just something you've kind of worked on for a very long time, and now it's here. And to me, that's the stage that you say, well, I wish I could tell everybody it always happens by accident, but it's not. You literally have to stack the deck and put yourself in position where this kind of opportunity then can then find you. So congratulations to what you're playing with, what you're doing.
Thank you. Yeah, no, this thing happened really fast. It just took 10 years to develop.
Yeah, that's the real answer. That is the real answer. How's your life going, Jay? You should be busy engraving all summer.
Going pretty good. I load up tomorrow to head down to one of the local Harley-Davidson dealerships. I'll be down there Saturday for one of their day-long events. I guess one of the fun things that really happened for me today, I actually had a deal come in where somebody was wanting a couple of glasses done up for a wedding. I'm doing what they call the redneck wine glasses. I don't know if you've ever seen them or not. Some people know what they are, some don't.
I don't know if I have.
Well, let me see. Do you seen the like little jars, like the little mason jars or ball jars that has the handle on the side of them?
Yeah.
Well, a redneck wine glass is one of those jars, but it has a stem on it.
Oh.
Okay, that's what they call a redneck wine glass. I'm doing up a set of these for a bride and groom for a wedding. Well, I couldn't find any stores around here that had any, that I could just go buy, so I'm having to make my own. Okay. So I was in a secondhand store today trying to find, a candle holder or something to use for the base.
Yeah.
And I'm scrummaging through, the secondhand store, going through the shelves trying to find these, and a lady walked up. She was there, getting old jars for a craft project. And asked me what I was looking for, and I told her, we get to talk while she's helping me look for what I need. And she asked me what I was going to do with them, and told her, and she goes, well, did you do quite a bit of engraving on glass? And I said, yeah. She goes, have you ever done, like, poems and stuff like that? I'm like, oh, yeah, I've done some of those for different people, thank you notes, whatever on glass. And I go, mind if I ask why? She goes, 13 years ago, she goes, I lost a daughter. She goes, I sat down and I wrote a poem. And the first thing that went through my head was, okay, she wants to just put it over on glass, okay?
Yeah.
Well, she says, I tried burning it into wood, and it just really didn't look right. She goes, I love some of the work that you've done, because I was showing her some pictures that I had on my Samsung.
Yeah.
Some pictures, and she goes, I love the way it looks. What's it like really trying to use the tool? And I said, tell you what, so I'll make you a deal. I said, I normally don't do this one, but, but for you, since, you're really interested, I'll do this for you. I go, give me a call. We'll set up a time, come out, bring the poem with you. I will help you get the pattern set up, and I will let you sit down, try the pen, you do the poem. I'll help you get it all set up and finished up and all that, and then you can have it done by you. And the lady stood there in the store and started crying.
No kidding.
She goes, you would actually do that? I said, sure. I said, I have no problem with it. She goes, I've got another question. I said, okay. Well, her son was standing beside her. He's 14. He was diagnosed 4 years ago with brain tumor. And and it's really, been affecting him real quick. And he was sitting there looking at her over her shoulder, just going, ooh, just loving it. She goes, would you mind? I said, I don't mind at all. Bring him with you, and we'll let him sit down. We'll let him give it a try, see if it really catches his interest.
Bingo.
So today just kind of made my whole week.
See, and all any of us have done. That's what Mel has done. That's what Jose has done. That's what Nick has done. That's what Ron has done. All we've done is play with this same. The mixture, Jay, that you're now finding is such a unique way into the marketplace. And you're beginning to see that. That's cool. What a great story. Oh, we got to hear the rest of that story, don't we?
Yeah, once she comes out, I'm going to try to get some pictures of her working on her poem and some pictures of her son. I'm just going to try to figure out, just a simple piece for him to try, and and go from there. And
probably an article in a magazine there, Jay. That's something that magazine people would really like to jump on. I call it the forever letter. It's something that the mother really means a lot to her. You're going to now permanently engrave that letter. The first one I did was the letter from the two women that had been friends for 65 years. And one woman was dying of terminal cancer, and she wrote a handwritten one-page letter to her girlfriend about what it was like to know each other for 65 years. It was a very, very emotional little one-page letter. And all I did was copy that and put it on to Crystal, and that was what she then gave back to her girlfriend and her family before she died.
I think the big thing that got this late is the fact that I told her that I would help her get things set up, and I would let her sit down and do it.
Let her do it. Yeah. Oh, what a great.
Of which not that, that's going to get her, more interested in the tool anyway. So.
Sure. Yep, you probably got your first student brewing. That will be fun. Is this the same pattern we all see, guys? Isn't this amazing how it's just a similar way that it goes? It's happened to every one of us in a similar fashion. Nick, you've taught quite a few people how to carve, haven't you?
Yep. Showed, presented at several woodcarvers meetings and such.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't take much when you put it in their hands and show them how easy it is to use, and then it's a kind of pattern side to it.
Yep.
Most people are pretty attracted to it and really want to get involved. You too, Lance? Go ahead, Nick.
Well, the other thing is a couple weeks ago I was contacted by a jeweler in New York City who's interested in me carving maybe some small eggshell pieces to incorporate into his jewelry. So I'm going to have to see where that goes.
That's an interesting one. That's really unique. Oh, that's really... Nick's always had this side of him that just can't get away from jewelry, Nick. It just keeps showing up in your life. What is that?
Yeah, I don't know. It just keeps on coming around.
Just a whisper that just keeps showing up. That's good. That'll be a fun project. So
shout.
Yeah. Mel would bang the bell and beat the drum to encourage your mix with jewelry too. That's a fun area to play with. Keep us informed on that one, Nick. That's going to be really fun.
Yep.
Lance Larson, how's your busy, crazy life doing tonight?
Oh, it's going okay. I just got a M1 carbine stock shipped in that I've got to get some, do a little carving on for a gentleman. But I'm going to be leaving tomorrow morning for several days, almost a full week, to go back home. And I'm trying to take a little bit of the learning I got from Opportunity Intersection, and I'm going to try and take one day to go over to one of the offices of one of the big sporting goods stores and see about working out some sort of partnership to maybe do a carved stock to donate to the National NRA convention for next year.
Ooh, bingo, yes.
And I figure that might be worth writing off the trip.
Yeah, that might do it. That might be enough to do it. Just exactly. And isn't it interesting the change in your perspective from a time when almost no one does that, and yet we all now know that, my hell, that pays for the trip. That makes the whole damn thing worth it. This one you can write it off. So, attaboy. That's going to be really fun. We'll wait and see how that turns out as well. Joe Cummings did he gets a gun every now and again from Cabela's here in Provo, in Utah Valley. We have one of the big Cabela's stores. And that real exclusive shop they have in Cabela's that sells expensive guns, he gets usually a Beretta. He'll go in and do the carving, and then they add Joe's fee for the carving on top of the price of the gun, and then when it sells, then he gets paid for that additional incentive of doing the gun. And he's worked out quite a deal, so he's got one or two of those going all the time. Kind of fun.
That's not a bad idea at all.
Yeah, make a friend of the person who runs that department, person who can make the decisions. They got to know you, and they got to start trusting you. You got to like what you're doing. And his pieces are generally between $2,500 and $3,500 added to the cost of the gun, shotgun and rifles. He's done both, I know. So that might give you some things to look forward to as well.
That's another avenue I'm going to look into. Thank you.
You bet. Good boy. Everybody knows Lance has got his lower third up tonight. Sometimes mine works and sometimes mine doesn't work. I don't know still what buttons I'm on. If you got a new camera, your setups looks good tonight. You got your new camera?
Yeah,
No, don't do camera. I just got a light.
No, you put a light on it. Bingo.
Yeah, that made a difference.
Hello there. Welcome. Good to have you in the show tonight, too. Yeah. So how's Kansas tonight, Roderick? You get
There we go.
There you go.
We've been having some pretty good storms rolling through, getting a lot of rain.
That's I've noticed on the news channel. Yeah, you guys have had some crazy weather.
And we dodged those two tornadoes to the north of us. Nebraska got hit really bad, and some tornadoes to the east. But we had a 65-mile-an-hour straight wind this weekend. It was pretty intense.
Not good. Well, you stay out of the bad weather, okay?
All right.
We don't want to have to deal with something like that. That's when lightning strikes like that, boy. That's wicked stuff. So
I posted something that I don't know if anybody saw it, but I was sitting at the lunch table and looked down at the floor, and the floor is painted. And
oh yeah, I did notice that.
I saw a picture, and I was like, "Well, that looks like Leonardo da Vinci." And I just happened to think that ever since I was a little kid, I've seen, in the clouds, or every once in a while it'll rain, and as it's drying, I'll see a picture, and I didn't realize that's a gift, and I kind of ignored it for years, but things like that keep showing up.
Well, now what I encourage all of you to do is when you have these little whispers, to me those are those little magic moments where something comes to you that you did not think of before, you did not see before. Okay, I've got a chance right now to sit down with Steve Covey's outfit. His company is called Franklin Covey. They're several $100 million a year sales, very large organization, and they train all over the world, 114 countries. And I've got a chance to meet with the director of creativity. And as I'm getting to know Jody and getting to meet him, one of the things I want to try and mix into what I see that Covey already does is my own brand of creativity. And I think all of you are highly creative people. You wouldn't keep coming and playing with what we're doing here if you weren't. And when you start to see that and you start to realize, if I take my own flavor of what I'm thinking and what I'm seeing, then is that not mixture with other people valuable? You'll see things you didn't see otherwise when you bother to mix your own creativity with someone else's. Everything that I see going on with Google Plus, the real advantage of this is we do see each other's posts. We do get to interact and mix with each other in a way that we never have done before. Never have had this kind of an ability. And to be able to see things in each other and encourage each other and inspire each other with these new tools, to me now, is I just don't see how you could have anything more worthwhile in your life than this mixture that I've talked about in the show tonight of like-minded gang of supportive people that are, on one hand, the inspiration you get comes up at the most unusual times, but when you get that voice of encouragement, my Lord, that's a powerful thing. That helps you when things get rough, when things get rugged, and when things get difficult. You've got a circle of friends around you, this circle, that will continue to support you. Is that true, Mr. Ron Schneeberger?
That's absolutely true.
That's what's going on, isn't it?
Well, I'm continuing on with my project, working on that so we can get some stuff out in the marketplace in July and for the second half of the year. And for some dumb reason, I don't know why, more and more of the influential people on Google Plus are starting to make contact with me. And I don't know if I've done anything different, but they seem, to take notice to me more. And so that's something interesting. And then I posted a couple things and I think you commented on it, where it seemed like in the last week, all of a sudden, a few days in a row, things about passion have jumped into my stream and into my life the last week. And so I've taken notice to that. But things are moving along, so I'll keep everybody posted when stuff starts to happen. I got some projects that I know we talked about before, and I'll let everybody know when those get finished up.
Good. Excellent. I don't see how, I get anticipating this evening gathering thing till I get Jack's collection filmed. I'm going to have, the only time he can do it is Wednesday, so I'm going to have to shove the class or get together to Thursday nights probably through the summer. So let's just pass on Wednesday evenings webinars, and then we'll get together on Thursday night for a little while till I can get this all filmed. I just can't do it any other way. But as those kind of things come along, sometimes shifts like this that are kind of forced on you are the very, very things that help you then lead you in the direction that you really ought to be going anyway. Remember the quote I posted earlier and talked about tonight in the show, is the things that almost blew me out of the water and forced me to quit, things that were so bad and so difficult and so much trouble in my beginnings, are now the things that really I rely on as great assets and great strengths in my own circumstance. And I bet you to $1, every one of you have got similar kinds of occasions and similar kinds of stories, similar kinds of circumstances. So something in the struggle, something in the process that you've gone uphill, if it's a little bit challenging and it's constantly pressing you, then that is the very way to go. All right. Any other comments before we're finished tonight? I think Mel's dog's got to say goodnight. Nope, that's the cat. Sorry, Mel. Sorry, cat.
Yeah, this is little Miss Bluebell.
This is Bluebell. Hello, Bluebell. How are you, dear? Isn't this fun? And isn't it just great we can sit down in our own lives and do this?
Yeah.
I just cannot get over it. Every time I walk back through what Google's throwing up, and that all they've done is build the tools and turn us loose. But oh my gracious, this is going to be fun. Bluebell, we make a Catterday star out of you, honey.
She doesn't care.
Long as she's getting some attention, she's just fine.
Yep. I'm about the only one that can do this.
Okay.
She doesn't let
anybody else.
her. Nope.
She's a good judge of character, male character. That's great.
Yeah, it's like Johnny's got her little friend with her.
Oh, see the donkey?
Joni's got her dog up, and Jay's got his dog up, and
Oh no, this is the boss. This is the boss.
the boss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He scratches on the door. He says, "Feed me, give me water."
Yeah, she's the boss. She rules the roost around here.
All right. Well, there's nothing wrong with that for certain. All right, gang. I appreciate the chance to sit down and mix with you. I hope there's some one thing every time you go to bed every night. Go to bed thinking about what next you can work on and ask for help. We're all searching for uniqueness, and as you're working on that, I think those ideas come to you. I don't think it's what bangs around in our head. We put the puzzle pieces together because we're so smart. I really think the great ideas that will help build your life in the directions you want it to go will come to you when you're supposed to. So as that happens, don't forget the ideas. Nothing makes me more upset than to have had an idea and I didn't get it written or captured down. And I can remember I've forgotten it, but I can't remember what I've forgotten. Isn't that the silliest thing? That just should not be.
So true.
It is. It happens all the time, doesn't it?
Well, you
Okay.
need to purge some of your memory banks there.
Yeah, I think my
If you're dreaming.
several hard drives that are overloaded, guys. All right. Wish you well. Have a great week, and we'll watch you on the streaming and enjoy. Appreciate all your contributing and including others. Trying to help people understand. I'm trying to do a video to help people see what it takes to actually get on Google+. We've got a guy named Dave Davenport's an ex-Navy guy in Virginia. He's been out taking classes. He's just getting his blaster now and stuff. But Dave's just such a fun piece of person, and we're trying to get him on to the shows and have him begin to participate. So watch for Crazy Dave. He'll be showing up here in the next little while and playing with us more. Thanks again, and good night, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Thank you. Good night.